Okay. In this, it is called Solve for y equals mx plus b. We're going to do a little graphing today. We've graphed in the past. It's just been a little while. So remember, I know whenever I see an x and a y in the equation that it's going to be a diagonal line. So if I ever want to graph a line, a diagonal line, I have to know the slope, which is the m, and I have to know the y-intercept, which is the b. Now, in order to find the m and the b, my equation needs to be in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. As long as my equation's in slope-intercept form, the slope will be in front of the x, smushed with it, and the b will be the number that's not smushed with the x. So I need my equations to be in slope-intercept form, and then I'll know what the slope is, I'll know what the y-intercept is, and I'll be ready to graph. Now, do you remember, which one do you do first when you're graphing? Do you plot the slope or do you plot the y-intercept? You plot the y-intercept first. Think of b as begin. So we begin by plotting the y-intercept. And then after we plot our y-intercept, think of m as move. We move with our slope. We rise and run or fall and run. Okay, there we go. Number one. Is my equation in slope-intercept form? Yes. So, what's the slope? What's the m? 2/3. And what's the b? What's the y-intercept? A -1. So remember, I begin with my y-intercept. This is the first thing that I plot. Okay, so since it's a y-intercept, remember we plotted on the y-axis. So I'm going to go to -1 on my y-axis and plot that point. And now I'm going to do my slope. Slope is how I move. So remember, slope is rise over run or fall over run. So since this is positive, I'm going to go up. And since the bottom number is positive, I'm going to go right. So from my y-intercept, I go up 2, right 3. Do it again. Up 2, right 3. I'm going to go reverse just to practice that. What would be reverse of up 2, right 3? Up 2, right 3. Down 2, left 3. Down 2, left 3. And then I have points, and I'm going to connect them with one nice straight line, and there is my graph. Okay, number 2. Is number 2 in slope-intercept form? Does number 2 look like y equals mx plus b? No, because y is not by itself. It's got a 2 attached to it. So I'm going to circle everything smushed with my y. If anything is outside my circle, I would add or subtract it, but nothing is. So I need to remove my 2, and how do I remove it? I divide. I undo multiplication with division, so I divide both sides by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so you're left with 1y. And then I'm going to reduce these two pieces. Now remember, what's in front of this x that you don't see? A 1. So does 1 over 2 reduce? Nope, it just stays 1 over 2, so 1/2 x. And then I'm going to try to reduce this piece. Does 6 over 2 reduce? Yep, 6 divided by 2 makes 3, so I put plus 3. Now my equation is in slope-intercept form. So once it's in slope-intercept form, let's identify our important pieces. What is the slope? 1/2. That's what's in front of x. And what's our b? What's our y-intercept? Our y-intercept is a +3. Okay, so remember, I begin by plotting the y-intercept, the first thing I do. So my y-intercept is a +3, so I'm going to go to +3 on my y-axis, which is right here. And then slope is how I move. Slope is rise over run or fall over run. So since this is a +1, I rise, I go up. And 2 is what I run, and since it's positive, I go right. So from my y-intercept, I go up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2. Let's practice reverse. Down 1, left 2, down 1, left 2. All right, let's connect those points with one nice straight line. Isn't graphing fun? Oh yeah! Okay, let's flip our page. Number 3. Is number 3 in slope-intercept form? Does it look like y equals mx plus b? No, it does not. The y is definitely not by itself. Okay, so I'm going to circle everything smushed with my y. I look on the side of the equals where my circle is, where the y is. If anything's outside the circle, I add or subtract. So what would I do to move that positive x? I would subtract it. So I subtract x from both sides. X minus x is 0. Bring down whatever's in your circle, which is a negative y. Bring down your equals. I cannot subtract these. One has an x, one doesn't, so it's recopy time. Let's recopy the x first. So what kind of x is it? It's a negative x. And then what kind of 2 is it? It's a negative 2, so I write minus 2. Now, I'm still not done because it's not a positive y. So remember, this is understood to be a negative 1 in front. So I divide both sides by negative 1. Negative 1 divided by negative 1 makes a positive 1, so a positive 1y. Remember, this x has a 1 in front of it. You just don't see it. So let's try to reduce our pieces. What's negative 1 divided by negative 1? A positive 1. So a positive 1x, or just x. And then reduce this piece. How much is negative 2 divided by negative 1? A positive 2. And now our equation's in slope-intercept form. So I just want to talk about dividing by negative 1 again. Dividing by negative 1 just switches all the signs. This negative y became positive. This negative x became positive. This negative 2 became positive. The signs just switch, switch, switch. Okay, now let's identify our special pieces. What is the slope? The slope's the number in front of the x, which is 1. And I'm going to write that as a fraction, 1 over 1. The b, the y-intercept, is 2. So what do I plot first? I plot the y-intercept, b for begin. Okay, since the y-intercept is 2, I need to plot 2 on the y-axis. My slope is how I move. It's how I rise over run. So since this is a positive 1, I go up. Since this is a positive 1, I go right. So from my y-intercept, I go up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, or reverse. A down 1, left 1, down 1, left 1, down 1, left 1. Connect all your points for one nice straight line. Beautiful. Okay, number 4. Does number 4 look like it's in slope-intercept form? Does it look like y equals mx plus b? No, it does not. So I'm going to circle everything smushed with my y. Whatever's outside my circle, I'll add or subtract. So how would you move the 4x? I would subtract it. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. 4x minus 4x is 0. I bring down what's in my circle, so I bring down the negative 3y. I bring down my equals. I cannot subtract these because one has an x and one doesn't, so it's recopy time. Let's start with the x. What kind of x is that?